Welcome everyone to the Thursday morning Dr. Eddie webinar. This is the beginning of November. Here we are again. Dr. Eddie's topic is always a good one. It's well, I'll let him tell you more about that, but we're really glad you're here, Dr. Eddie. And what are you going to share with us today?
Well, good again to see you, Tammy. What we're gonna talk about today is words. Okay, it's about words that we use in recovery, and especially the word slip and relapse. Okay, I mean because we hear it often, where it's like, "Oh, I had a slip." And the reason this topic came up, well, I thought about this several weeks ago, because I had a client who we had a session. He said, "Hey, I want to let you know, I looked at pornography." I go, "Oh," but he goes, "I looked at it for less than 2 minutes, and I started to feel so guilty, and I turned it off." I go, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you got to your senses, where we do that." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "But it's a bad slip." I go, "It's not a slip." He's like, "What?" I go, "That's a relapse." He goes, but it wasn't that long. And so that's where this topic came. And then what also happened though is that just a couple about, I guess, I don't know, a week ago, I got a article from Jake Porter. I'm on his mailing list, and I know Jake, we're good friends. He wrote an article about this topic. I'm like, oh, could you imagine a great mind think alike, whatever it is. But anyway, we're like, I'm like, this is good. All right, the iron's hot. Let's go after this. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Is there a difference between a slip and a relapse? All right. So, what is the difference? Well, if we look at what the recovery world tells us, and not everyone in the recovery world, but a substantial number of people, a slip is this temporary return to our addictive behavior. And usually it's driven by this unforeseen opportunity. It just came out of nowhere and we gravitated to it. A relapse is a return to the addictive behavior that's driven by, again, the void to avoid experiencing emotional discomfort. Go there because I'm running away again. This is one of the points I want to make here. The truth is, if you look at both circumstances, what there is a lack of mindfulness. I don't need to tell you, well-informed people, mindfulness is a key aspect of recovery. So if you're lacking mindfulness, whether it is for 30 seconds, 30 minutes, 30 hours, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Because part of recovery is about the idea of awareness. We need to be, because for too long, we have not been very aware. We just go with the flow of things that are going on in our lives, mostly driven by emotion. Now, instead, no, I need to slow everything down to be able to see what are those unforeseen opportunity. And what I mean by that, I can't tell what's going to happen, but when it does happen, like for example, the wife, hey, I'm going to the mall for several hours. Oh, okay. What am I going to do there? What am I going to do at that time? How am I going to keep myself occupied? What am I going to engage in? Something like that. You're going to go on a business trip and whatever. What's your game plan? What are you going to be putting together? Who are you going to be calling while you're there? And things just for reinforcement. You may not get triggered by anything, but it's just that reinforcement. So once we lose mindfulness, then all bets are off with what has to happen. Now, some of my peers will say there is a difference. Okay, there is a difference, and there is something that's a slip, and there are relapses. And a relapse is something that's sustained. All right, sustained, a sustained venture of some kind, but you're doing it for a period of time. Well, let's continue. Okay. So what do I think? Well, I think you already started to guess where I think. I think in both cases, whether I call it a slip or I call it a relapse, there's no difference. Okay. A slip is a relapse because again, you've lost mindfulness that is required to maintain sobriety. We go back to, and you folks have heard me say this before, what is the ultimate goal that we are trying to achieve when it comes to recovery? And it's not, oh, don't do that behavior anymore. That's not it. What it's about is a change of the heart. It's the transformation from someone who cannot sit with emotional discomfort and has limited ability to emotionally connect and bond to someone who understands that running away from pain is really a lost opportunity. It's a lost opportunity to grow, to mature. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to become a man or a woman of integrity, doing the right thing. We're not driven any longer by raw emotions. Instead, we engage in rational thinking and we focus again on what is the right thing, even if it's difficult. What a person of integrity does. You do the right thing. Tammy, I just came back from a trip. I was in London for a week and I had a group on Monday. And one of the guys said to me, so did you behave yourself? And I'm like, did I behave myself? I go, I always behave myself. And he's like, oh. I go, no, I'm serious. I go, well, I always behave myself. And I go, let me tell you why I behave myself. Because I do the right thing. I set out to do the right thing. And even in those small number of cases where I don't do the right thing, I quickly note it and I change course for it. But that's part of the integrity factor of what we're doing. So why do some people, including therapists and coaches, why do they insist on call it a slip? Well, I think there's several reasons. I think one, all right, it could be used as a coping strategy to minimize the true actions. All right, for example, oh, it was minor and it didn't last long, right? Versus I did something I shouldn't have done, whether it was for a short duration or a longer duration. I did something I should not have done. See, accountability, which again is another important component of recovery, is thrown out the window. It's thrown out the window. And that action alone is enough to refer to it as a relapse. Okay? It was minor. It didn't last long. I've gotten rid of my accountability. It's not a big deal. That alone, to me, says relapse. Second reason, it could be to avoid resetting the sobriety date. Jake, in what he wrote, one thing he said was a slip sends the message that sobriety is about counting days, not deep change. I could not agree with him more. I think counting days is not what we should be focused on. What does it matter how long you've been sober? Do you need to remind yourself what in order to stay that way? Are you afraid that if you don't count the days that you'll become complacent? What is the point of counting? You know, if that's the case, then you know what? I don't think you're in true recovery. Recovery is about real change. I can't tell you how long I've been sober. I can give you years, but I can't give you days. I don't know. I don't care. All that matters is that I am sober and I feel good about it. And that's the way we all should be. Focus on that. Now, I know there are many people who will disagree with me about that in the counting days. But I think some people are so hung up on that idea of, oh, I have to reset my sobriety calendar. Well, yeah, because you had a relapse. Let's focus. I'll get there in a minute. I want to get ahead of myself. Okay. The third reason why we may call it a slip is to avoid feeling shameful. Hmm? But here I'll go to again, whether we call it a slip or we call it a relapse, there's no place for shame in the equation. Shame is something that we should be working on if we're going through the recovery process so that it is greatly diminished. All right. Because it's not going to be helpful and actually could wind up leading to further outbreaks. Okay. It's like the person has the problem with food and they take a little bite of a piece of cake. And then before you know it, they're like, oh, well, I blew that. I should have, I shouldn't be. And they go and they eat the whole piece. And then they're full of all this great remorse. So guilt, if you want to feel guilty, fine. Feel guilty. But not shame. Shame is not going to help all of it. But what is the key? Key is not what you call it, all right? But it's how you respond to the unfortunate behavior and consequences, all right? Well, are you going to be remorseful? Are you going to be honest and transparent about what occurred? Right? I thought it was very good that my client said that to me and told me, all right? Will you assess what went wrong? Why did you relapse? See, that's the most important element of this. After telling someone, if what happened, what should I have done differently? What could I have done differently? See, this is what matters. It's about self-reflection. It's about understanding myself, answering those why questions I talked to you about. Why do I think, feel, and act the way I do? Which then empowers you to be able to prevent from doing that in the future. When we hide behind the language of slip, I think what we're doing is we're protecting our ego rather than protecting our recovery and our partners. That's what I got for you today, Tammy.
Great, great stuff. And I've got a couple notes. Um, you talked about integrity and being in London, and I was like, it's you do the right thing even when no one else is looking, because it's the integrity within you. I'm going to do the right thing. I will know if I did
Right?
something. So, and like this whole topic is great, and you can't relapse or slip if you're not in recovery. If you're just acting out every so often, that's called the cycle of addiction. It may be 3 months, it may be 3 days, it doesn't matter. It is that you're not on any recovery journey if this is just kind of repeatedly happening. And I did write down slip or relapse, still reset your sobriety date. Now, I happen to be somebody who is big on the numbers, but I'm
I
also a
thought
math
you did. I
major.
thought you would
Yes,
be.
I'm a math major. I have my apps, I count my steps. I'm one of those people. And so it does matter to me. And it is motivating for a couple of reasons. First of all, like I didn't think I could, spend a day, in recovery. So when I got to a month, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
and so those markers are, it's a reminder of a miracle that a person who couldn't go a day, has
Mm.
stacked up some days. So that's just a little, different perspective.
I
I honor
understand.
everybody's on their journey and whatever is
Yep.
important to them. And I did put down the autopsy. Yeah, do the autopsy. You didn't act out when you acted out. You acted out when you gave yourself permission to do so. And looking at what that pattern was, a three-circle plan. Guess what? You were in a yellow circle. You were in that middle circle, and you let it slide down to the inner circle. You didn't go, what do I need to do to change
Yeah.
that? So it's an opportunity. So I'm with you. Shame is, not so helpful. Doing going, this is an opportunity. I wasn't doing enough to be able to hold on to this. When I was in danger, I didn't pick up a phone. I didn't do anything that would have been a good thing to do. I chose to
Right.
act out. So that means the next time this happens, and it will, because like you said, they're the unexpected things, and you don't know what it's going to be. I need to be prepared. I need to be ready, so that when those unexpected things happen, I'm going like, oh, there's one of those unexpected things, and I'm going to choose to do something that will be helpful
Right.
for me. So,
Right. Right. Okay. Good. Up to our questions. I guess we'll start with
yes,
the new ones.
yes, let's do that, and we'll see if we get to other ones. Okay,
Yeah.
how many relapses does one allow? I have asked my PA to tell me in 24 hours. I don't feel like he's being honest. This goes back to
Okay.
what I was saying too. So please share.
Yeah. I mean, well. Again, how many relapses does one allow? All cases are different. All right. That we'll start off with that. And that's not trying to get out of answering the question. It's this. Do you see effort, strong effort being made to be in recovery? He's going to meetings, he has accountability people, he's doing the work, he has a therapist, he's doing all the things, but also you're seeing changes in the way he's interacting with you. That he is not, again, he's starting trying to emotionally connect, emotionally engage with you. If you're seeing that and there is a relapse, you know what? Perhaps you give grace. You give grace. But also then to say, all right, what else, what was missing? What wasn't in place that caused that to happen? So therefore we can not just, all right, well, do better next time. No, let's figure it out. As Tammy called it the autopsy, all right? To do that. Now, if you have somebody who's just relapsing on a regular basis and they're not doing much of the work, then I'm not going to tell you what to do. All I'm going to tell you is that you're in for this roller coaster that's going to continue. It has to be the only people who have a chance to heal are the people who do the work. If you're not going to do the work, you're not going to heal because you can't change. Remember, the word is there, change. We're looking to transform. So,
And I'm with you. And this kind of leads back to what I was saying is you can't relapse if you aren't on a recovery path. Just not acting out is abstinence.
yeah,
But
good.
but like you were saying, like convert it to alcohol. Like, oh, I only I only drank half a glass. Guess what? You still drank. Like,
Yeah,
yeah. So there's no, well, this doesn't really matter. This doesn't really matter. So this to me is a person who has not gotten enough help in order to stop the problematic behaviors for any kind of sustained time. So I did put the SA 101 work group starts again, I think early December, but the healthy boundaries for partners are really
yeah,
helpful. That could help you identify what
yeah.
boundaries you need to take care of you when this person is doing what they're doing.
Right, because again, if you're, my guess is, if I'm looking at this, that you've gone through numerous relapses. Okay, and
I don't think
if
there's even any recovery. I think it's just like he's
no,
an active addict.
so I think the question for you is not so much what do I do about him. It's more the question of why am I allowing myself to sit in this circumstance and be,
Yeah.
deal with that. So yeah, the
Yes.
boundary course would be very good.
And please, like, all of this is just support for you. This is not, oh, we're shaming you of like, what's wrong with you? That is not
No,
the
yeah,
message. This is like, we want you to take care of you
yeah,
because
yeah,
this person is still not able to do so. So,
right, right.
okay.
Thanks for adding that time.
Yeah, and one of the things I quote Dr. Eddie on all the time is slow everything down. My essay husband is working on his sobriety, seems to want to live his life as though recovery is not important or the priority and continues to go places where he acted out. That's
Oh,
a
all right. So
healthy
you know what?
boundaries work group for you too.
Yeah, really. And in there, you know what's missing here? Well, there's many things missing, but one thing that's missing, sacrifice. A person who's in recovery, a person who, and again, recovery is about I am going to focus on what I can be doing, not just to get myself well, but also what are the needs and wants of those around me. All right, that I can be here to make sure that I'm not doing things to hurt them. And what he's saying here to you is like, I don't care if that bothers you. Well, that's your problem, not my problem. I'm going there. And that that shows the attitude, the wrong attitude. Because the right attitude is I will be sacrificial. I will give this up. I will give everyone who goes through addiction, all right, and we get into recovery, we give something up. We're all going to give something up. We have to. Because one, we have to do it for our sobriety. Two, we do it because to be able to make the people around us feel safe. What he's saying to you, what the message he's delivering is, your safety doesn't really matter to me, unfortunately. And I'm very sad about that. I'm sad, but I do think the boundary workshop would be a good one for you.
And I'm going to tag onto what he just said
Hmm.
because yes, we do give up something, but I always say the inner circle is the smallest circle. What we are giving up is so irrelevant. Once we get on this path, like I know for sure that we could tell you the amazing gifts of recovery. Like that is like what we get is so much bigger. That's why the outer circle is the biggest circle. What we get from being on this journey by giving up stuff that is really meaningless, is so much more. And so what I hear is somebody that's hanging on, no, 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 no. But it hasn't really looked at what will I gain,
Right,
including a relationship with you, if I am willing to let go what I'm hanging on to, which is so meaningless. And again, like this is take it back to an alcohol. If I'm trying to stay away from drinking alcohol and I go hang out at the bars all the time, it is a matter of moments before someone's handing you something and you're drinking it. So,
right.
so there's no safety for you partner in this. So I encourage you to take care of you. The healthy boundaries work group
Mm.
would be awesome.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because I actually had a conversation with a client this morning about that. The idea is like, okay, you're over here, right? This is your negative comfort zone, all right? With your worries, with your concern, with your fear, with your anger, all of this. And there's this wall here that's preventing you from getting over, I don't have enough hands, that getting you over here, all right? You're over here and you need to be here. And the problem is you have no idea what this feels like because
Exactly.
this is amazing. This, this comfort zone that you're in, again, is negative. And what do you have? You have all these fears, you have all these worries, you have all these concerns, you have all this anger, you have all of that. You take down this wall and you come over here and you're going to find peace. You're going to find love. You're going to find comfort. You're going to find you accept yourself. And he took that. That was powerful for him to do it. And I hope it's going to make a big difference.
And it does if we're willing, but if we're
Yeah,
hanging
got to be
on,
willing.
in the 12 steps it talks about we start at the turning point and we have to make a decision. It's this or this. You can't straddle the fence. It does not work.
Right.
Okay, what kind of therapy strategies do you recommend to break through distorted thinking that arises from my family of origin? How can I break through the distortion, and how do I know when to question whether or not it is a distortion? Great question. And
It
thanks for
is.
asking that. Yeah.
Right. The therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy is probably the best. There are others that are out there, but that's really a good one. And there they'll help you to develop those strategies that you need to be able to do it. Because breaking through the distortions is not easy. People, to do it on your own, it's difficult because what you need is somebody showing you, okay, wait a second, you're thinking this. Well, you know what? My parents, they did the best that they could, whatever. But wait a second, you just told me your parents were never around. They were too busy out there partying and doing what they were doing. Does that sound like the best to you? You as a parent, would that be? Oh no, not at all. He, we need that third party or that other party to be able to kind of guide us through, because again, the distortions are so deeply rooted. It's sometimes really hard to see, even if it's right in front of our face. I mean, everybody else can see it, but we can't see it. Okay, and that's not a negative reflection on you. It's just the fact of, again, the way we're hardwired. You received that message. You got those messages from them over and over and over again, whether directly or indirectly. That is what you come to believe. It's what you believe and what you take forth in your life. And as you know, it's torturing for you. So again, I would look for a cognitive behavioral therapist and start doing that work to help you break through it.
So one of my good friends, Dr. Ken Adams, lectured, and part of it was, we're looking through a prism, and I'm looking at this one little piece, and we're looking at the same thing, but someone else who's looking from a different lens, if a different side of the prism is going to see things differently. And I think that's, when Dr. Eddie's talking about this, is like you need other people who can look through other parts of the prism so that they can
Mm.
see. I've also, like, for myself, like I started to pay attention. Whose voice am I hearing?
Yes.
And having that, and yeah, yes, and you're going like, wait, that
Mm.
negative voice, I can identify who that is. I can
Right.
stop the message, and I've done therapy on this. So, but when you stop the message, you go, wait, that is the message. That is that person's voice. And what is the true message? What is
Mm.
real right now? It takes time, but I am so appreciative that you're asking, because that's how, like, being aware of it is the first step in, in starting to make those changes.
Yes, and the fact is there is an awareness level that's here. You're right. That is great. I tell clients all the time, who else was in the room?
Yes,
Who else
that's
was in the
great.
room?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
somebody else in the room
Hmm.
that has you thinking this way or feeling that way.
And so I'm going to give a plug. Dr. Eddie teaches a work group, the inner child, that would be helpful probably. And Troy Love does the attachment wounds. There's pieces
Yeah,
of
very good.
that in all those, and I had put the link for the work group. So consider those. I think those will be starting after the first of the year again. Journaling, like when you start to feel like, where is this thinking coming from? What's true? Like journaling is, there's research on it. So there are lots of things, but definitely working with a qualified therapist that can help you. But even peer groups and things of like, this is what I'm thinking. Is this accurate? You make it
Mhm.
more lenses.
Right. Okay.
Okay, how do you manage relapses with someone who is a P and also a SA who chats online, meets partners, etc.? He says no porn, but he is chatting, etc. So that would not
Well,
be
you don't,
relapse.
there's no difference between the two, whether there's somebody who, is porn is their drug of choice, or someone who had porn and other indiscretions that you mentioned, or there are some who don't want porn at all and they just engage in all. There's no difference in how you manage the relapses. It becomes the idea of One, and what you're describing here, this sounds like somebody who's not trying to recover. He jumps
Right.
on a line, he
Yeah.
meets partners, etc. So the question becomes, what is he doing? And what does he want in his life? And until he can answer that question himself, because again, you could there is an old saying which I knew, but I never thought about it until finally got a ranch. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make that horse drink. Okay? You can't. All right? You know that horse needs to drink. You know they've been eating this stuff all day out there, and they need to. And here it is. It is really cold. It is great. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work. It's the same thing here. It sounds like you're trying to work harder at this than he is. So therefore, what do we do in this circumstance? We have you focus on you and on your healing, on your repair, so that you can put yourself in a better place where then you can make a decision that's going to be better for you. Because right now, he sounds like someone who's he's not in the game. That's what I'm saying.
And another plug for the healthy boundaries, and here's why, because part of it is internal boundaries. I'm not going to betray myself, and let myself get, I mean, it's I'm going to take care of me regardless of what that person's going to do. So I'm not going to betray myself
Right.
regardless of what that person's
Mhm.
doing or not doing. But yeah, this person is like, I go back to, he can't be relapsing. He's not going back to the alcohol. Like, I'm not drinking whiskey, but I'm still drinking beer. Guess what? It's still drinking. So,
Yeah.
and we, at our residential treatment program, which he would be a great candidate for, we look at not just the sex and porn addiction, but we're looking at food, we're looking at smoking, we're looking at every compulsive behavior, gaming, gambling, all of those things which keep that dopamine going, that intensity rather than intimacy and connection. So again, we stood at the turning point. We have to make a decision. The healthier boundaries that a partner holds, A, they take care of themselves. B, when the betraying partner starts to bump up against those, they're going, oh, wait. No addict changes until the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same.
That's
If a
right.
person can run around and keep doing the same things, I'm still doing all these things, but hey, I'm not doing that. It does. You can't be, one of the 12-step language things is happy, joyous, and free. You can't be happy, joyous, and free when you're still using other things. So
Right. I had one of my peers reach out to me a few weeks ago to do a consultation because he had a client who very much like this. And been meeting with him for almost a year. He's constantly, acting out. He's missing sessions. And my client and my colleague was like, what do you do with this person? What do you do? I said, you know what? Sometimes you gotta let him go.
I was thinking the same thing. I'd be like, clearly
Because
I'm not the
because
person that can help you. Like
Right, because there's other people who need your help. And something
exactly.
not we can't save everyone. I learned a long time ago, I can't save the world. I want to, but I can't. And
Right.
there are certain men who never get it. And women, they never
I was going to add,
get
and
it.
women. Yeah. Yeah.
And women. And that's why when we look at drug abuse, we look at alcohol abuse, we wind up with people who are overdosing, and dying. We look at people who die from cirrhosis of the liver. We watch people who's with sex addiction who just trash their lives. We watch people with gambling who, just run through money like it's water. And again, trash people along the way. Some people never have the courage to sit with the pain so that they can be able to change. I'm sorry to say that, but it's reality. Do I think
It
everybody
is.
can be changed? I do think everybody, but they have to wake up. They're the ones who have to say, you know what? I do need to change and I will make those commitments. Yeah, some people do that every once in a while, but then they're back to it again because they don't really make the change, the commitment.
Another 12-step slogan is willing to go to any length, like
That's right.
I'm willing to go to any length. I have walked because my car was in the shop. I have walked, a long way to a meeting. Now, I could have asked for a
You know,
ride, and I would have, but yeah, it's like
uh,
you do what you got to do to make sure that that is the priority.
go back to the other answer that we gave before about sacrifice. I will make
Yes, yes,
sacrifices for
yes,
others.
yeah.
He's not making any sacrifices right now, seems.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
I have been clean from addiction for 7 months, and I have been asked a
Good.
few times by my partner how I am getting my high that I no longer get from addiction because they feel like I should have replaced it with something else. Is it possible that some people can just quit cold turkey, or does there have to be another problem? That's another great, interesting questions
It's a
today.
very
So yeah,
interesting
yeah.
question. Okay, so one, what we're trying to do when we move away from getting the high
Mhm.
is to stop the neurochemical imbalance in the brain that's causing the high. So therefore, over time, what happens is the brain starts to reset. The level of dopamine is not as strong as it was. The neuroreceptors start to replace themselves. And so therefore, again, I don't need a high. What I need are relationships, which actually create a different type of high, but it's not dopamine high, it's oxytocin high. All right, oxytocin, that feel good, nurturing neurochemical. So therefore, that's what you replace it with as you start to get into community with people, as you start to maybe bridge new relationships or old existing relationships. So therefore, again, we've taken, and again, there's nothing wrong with dopamine. Dopamine is if you didn't have dopamine, you'd have Parkinson's. Okay,
Mhm.
that's what,
Mhm.
if you look at
Mhm.
what the drugs that are used to help people with
Mhm.
Parkinson's disease, they're made up with dopamine. Okay, dopamine helps us with our functioning from being able to move our body in a proper way. So that's why dopamine sometimes I've talked about this. It gets a bad rap. It's not all bad. It's when we start to overproduce it, that's when there's a problem. So what's happened is you have taken that down. Have you replaced it with a lot of oxytocin? I don't know. Maybe you haven't. So maybe you're just kind of flat, but you don't have that high feeling any longer.
And I would love that you can have a 7-month chip because I do like chips. But here's the deal, like you're still really early in this process. So
Yeah.
so keep doing the things
Right.
that will help you continue to do this.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
your partner had discovery. You knew all along you were doing this stuff, but your partner had discovery. So it takes longer to build trust. The more action you are taking, I'm glad you're here, the more action you are taking, the more that partner starts to go, oh wait, this is different. Okay, okay. So stay the course, keep doing the work, and it will continue to get better.
Yeah, that was great. Tammy, see, that's why Tammy's here because again, I missed the part about your partner and understanding the fact that yeah, it's like, wait a second, what happened? What all of a sudden you don't have an addiction anymore? And that's why I kind of the word addiction bothered me a little bit, but it's like I'd rather go with the compulsive behavior aspect of it, but still, yeah, she's gonna question it. It's gonna be, I don't know, I don't understand this. For you, it's like, maybe I don't quite understand it either. All I know is it's working and continue to show that work through your action.
Yes, and then and it's a journey, and you'll have more
Yeah.
layers. So this is a lifelong process. Guess what? You have the whole rest of your life to continue to dig through it, and but it gets so much better. Like I can't if I could wave a magic wand, which I can't, and you could see how good this can be if you stay the
Mhm.
course. Everyone would be doing this, but like Dr. Eddie said, not everybody chooses it.
No.
Okay, thank you so much. 6+ years of sexually sober in recovery
Hey.
and slips or relapses, but for the first few years of recovery, I really struggled with honesty and transparency. Feel like I'm doing good now, but because of this history, I'm unable to establish trust with my wife. She is trained to always feel and see the worst. Things are deteriorating, not improving. How can I better provide her safety and security?
I don't quite understand about she's trained to always feel and see the world. Who trained her to do that? I guess you, maybe in what you did, or all right. Anyway, um, I think this is a conversation that, again, if you're like 6+ years, well, so yes, I would imagine not counting the slips and relapses in the beginning, all right? But okay, let's say you're 6 years and you've been sober completely, and she's still not trusting, then I'm wondering again, is that part of the reason that you're just sober, but you're not emotionally engaging and connecting with her? And therefore, then she doesn't see that change because they need to see that. They need to see somebody who can be vulnerable. They need to see somebody who can sit there with their pain and what they're going through. I need to know more about what goes on with the dynamics, and maybe for you to be curious to say, look, you know what? I know I have this sobriety here. Okay, I feel good about it. What am I still lacking that can help you? What do you need that I'm not, you're not delivering something for the most likely. There's also the other idea that she's had other trauma, which could be impeding what's going on here. I'm not saying that's the case. I have no idea. I'm going with the idea that there's something you're not providing her that she needs in order to feel that safe.
This would be one where a qualified professional to do some couples work would be really useful. And I don't know what work you're doing, but like Dr. Eddie said, it feels like there's probably something that hasn't happened. I did put the Out of the Doghouse work group, which does help with tools to learn to build trust. That could be a good start for you.
Right.
I don't know what
Or,
support she's had along the
right,
way
right.
and yeah, and where she's um uh, you know I often say it's like, if she's in a car accident, she wasn't driving, she didn't cause it, she still got hurt. And so if she hasn't had any support or help, but yeah, I'm with like, it feels like, okay, you struggle with honesty and transparency. What are your actions showing now in let's say the last 4 years that would make her think that things are different? That would be the first question I would ask her. It's like, what are
Hmm.
you seeing that is different? What is the same? Ask
Right.
her.
Yep. And
And one
you
more thing,
maybe,
go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just say, and what is your, I will put the link in it, but we had what should I say or should I go? The first one was Kristen Snowden, and it was questions. Do I even want to be in this relationship? You both journaling about those 10 questions and comparing answers, possibly with a qualified
Yeah.
professional to help it. But are you guys just spinning your wheels, or are you actually trying to move forward in a relationship? That would be interesting to know.
Yeah, right. And you know what? We also have our Why Men Truck Out of Love course too. There'll be a new one starting in January. So
That would be so what you're hearing is lots of resources. I put the work group links in the chat, so pull those. You can always email tami@seekingintegrity.com if you miss them, but they're on our website. Okay, how do I stop fearing relapse or slip? I know I shouldn't, especially because it reveals how much more concerned I am with failing than I am with embracing real change. So this sounds like the addict partner asking about that, and I
right.
get that.
Yeah, I do too. One, you got to remove the word stop. Okay. I mean,
Mhm.
you're not gonna stop the fear of happening. What you want to do is be able to hold on to the fear and move forward and continue to do the right thing. All right. There's nothing wrong with having that little bit of fear of why. However, what I would pursue, because it sounds like I think you seem early in the process, that's the sense I'm getting. I would be talking to your therapist about why do you think my fear is so strong? Because that means most likely I would think you probably have an overall fear of failing. There's something inside that, again, you don't have that sense of confidence that I'm going to be able to do this. And what you need to do is work to rebuild that confidence or maybe build it for the first time. So that's where I'd be looking at doing things like that.
And I think I call it my insurance. I do my daily work, and that's my insurance. So I'm not afraid because I'm doing my daily work that just is my little insurance policy that just for today, I won't choose to do that. And
Mhm.
and the context that 12 step talks about of the 24 hours, all I got to do is deal with today. If I get through today, then and so far it's been working. And then tomorrow, I'll do something similar that will make sure that I've got my insurance policy for tomorrow. So I am aware that if I choose to not do those things, the chances of me, and do I think I will go back to the behaviors? No, but do I think I would probably start getting that, all of those, the off the beam, I don't feel good. I'm
Mhm.
disconnected, all of those things. My serenity is, I don't want even that. So
Yes,
it's the insurance policy. But yeah, I
yes.
love what Dr. Eddie said about like looking at, fear of failure and some bigger things. But can you break it down to just for today? That's all I got to deal with is today. And for today, I don't need to relapse.
Right. It's interesting what he had in there, though. He's more concerned about failing than he is about doing, the work. And it's like that might not be true. You may be feeling that, but in reality, no, you're very dedicated to being on the right class. So you got to look at that also.
Yeah, yeah. This goes back to the get some other people's input. Have the prism look at this of like, am I doing the things that I need to do for today? And then if you're hearing, yeah, you're going to your 12 step, you're working with your sponsor, you're working with step, you're seeing your therapist, you're meeting whatever, and you go, these are the things that I'm doing that are actionable that will show you that I am working and dedicated to doing this. So that negative message of, you know, uh, you're not doing enough, well, today you're not acting out. Great.
Right. Right. Okay.
I am the PA, but I am the PA, and my addiction has been for many years. I'm trying to sort out and my triggers. I am in a group and I feel I'm trying, but some TV shows even appear as porn. Yes, and we call non-porn porn. Like, yes,
Well,
there's lots of
yeah, right.
things.
But again, this is where you get the due diligence, where before you go and watch a show, I mean, go and look at what's, appears in it. They have the listings for them that's going to have adult content in it. And you know what? You have to avoid some. You have to avoid them. Again, go back to the idea of sacrifice. So it sounds to me like you're still in this addiction right now. I don't see a therapist here. I'm in a group, but I
Or
don't see
12 step
you
or groups, or
you
yeah,
right. But you need a therapist. You
yeah.
need somebody who's gonna walk you through. So again, you go back and answer the why. Why do I think, feel, and do the things I do? Because once you figure that out, once you understand what are those emotional drivers, you're gonna feel a lot more relaxed.
Yeah, and what do I need to do today so that I am not, triggers are
Yeah.
going to happen. Dr. Eddie talked about all the unexpected. Yeah, that's what life is, and you will never have a plan that includes every single possible trigger because they come out of nowhere. So, but having a plan for this is what I do. Oh, wait, I'm in my middle circle. Do you have a
Yeah.
three-circle plan? Like what support do you have? Because
Yeah.
yeah, like stop watching TV, take a sabbatical from TV, like do what you need to do so that you are getting that solid foundation to start with, so that you have the opportunity to go, I can choose, not
Mhm.
react.
Right. Okay. This is a continuation of one from
Yes,
Chris.
although, yeah, so have done a lot of, of, I think, good therapy around family of origin. One thing I identified was a need for affirmation. I think this comes from a healthy need, but I also believe it fueled my acting out.
Yes, it
Oh, I
probably
think it
does.
can be a healthy need, but it also fueled my acting out. How do
Yeah.
I keep this in healthy balance and have fair expectations from my wife in meeting this part of my love language when I feel she doesn't see me? It's hard.
Right.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah,
oh, it is hard.
yeah.
I gotta tell you, Tammy, I think, when I look at the emotional wounds that people suffer, I really believe this wound of the fact that the lack of affirmation or the need for affirmation is probably one of the strongest. One of the strongest. And what it takes is one, grieving what you did not get. Two, understanding the circumstances of what happened in growing up. Okay. Understanding that parents, probably good people in many cases, just didn't have the same skill set. They didn't know how to affirm with that, or they were overwhelmed by other things. Again, not that, we don't want to hold accountable, but I'm not blaming them for my action. But for you, it's to understand that, all right, you know what? I need to learn to develop self-compassion for me. I am a good man. I've done bad things, but I'm a good man. Okay. That I can feel good about what I've accomplished in my life. You with your recovery, like you said, good recovery about things. And also you get affirmation from other sources well, but also then when your wife doesn't give it to you, because she's not going to give it to you all the time. Nobody gives it all the time. We can't. We get exhausted. When she doesn't, then it's like, I wonder what she needs today. What does she need? You keep giving and expect nothing in return. Most likely, what you're going to get back is a lot more. Well,
Yeah, this is the bucket that has holes in it, and it doesn't matter how much other people pour
yeah,
into it.
right, right.
It's never
You
going to work
never know.
until you have to plug the holes. It's your bucket. You
Yeah,
plugging the
yeah.
holes, and like you said, the self affirmations, like that's why doing 12 step and do, like, guess what? You can affirm other people and they can affirm you. And you
Right,
like,
exactly.
yeah, like having your wife be the person that you need. And you said that I need affirmations from. Yeah, it's like
Not fair.
they
It's
will.
not fair to her.
No, and it will be far more meaningful if it isn't that you need them, but she is able to give them. Great.
Right.
That completely shifts things, because then it feels like a real one. Because otherwise, it's like, well, like the fishing for compliments. I'm fishing for a compliment, and then I get a compliment, and guess what? I fished for it, so
It
it's
doesn't really matter.
meaningless. Yeah, yeah,
See, the one line in here,
hmm,
when I feel she doesn't see me is hard. When I
yeah,
feel, just because you feel it,
hmm,
doesn't mean that's what's happening. She may see you, she may just not be acknowledging you at that moment. Give you why? Because she has a lot of other stuff going on in her world too. So sometimes you have to go and see her.
yes,
Feed,
yes.
focus on feeding her and see what you wind up getting back. Good. Thank you for adding that.
Well, and one more thing, when early in my recovery journey, someone said, at and I think it was directed at me. It probably was, but they said, when you're all wrapped up in yourself, you're a real small package. It took me a bit to figure that out, but no, it did. But I'm like, if you are going like, see me, see me, see me, you are not seeing her. And that is,
Right.
when someone's that big at someone else, guess what? It shuts the other person down, you know? So you're setting in, and this is just me reading this, the stage is set for not good for either of you. I can understand why you're feeling like things are devolving instead of improving.
Good. Let's jump to Melissa because we don't have a lot of
Okay.
time. So jump
Okay.
down one.
What if my SA husband isn't acting out, but he is defensive, angry, mocks me, and he can't sit with my pain? Is that recovery? No.
Acting out. That is another form
Yeah.
of acting out. You have to remember, acting out isn't just he's acting out sexually. Okay. He's acting out also in the fact that he's being hostile. Okay. The fact that he's being defensive, he's being angry, he mocked you. I mean, give me a break. Are you kidding me? Mocking you? That's what a husband does. A husband mocks his wife. You know, this is completely inappropriate. So even though, he may not be sexually acting out, he's acting out in all these other ways that are never going to bring you a sense of safety. Never. So again, I think, Melissa, what you need to do, you have to focus on you to understand why would I even allow a man to mock me? Okay, where are the boundaries with that? Because all I know, if I mock my wife, man, my butt would be out that door. I'd
Because
be
she's got
honest
healthy
truth.
boundaries.
She does. And plus she have a husband who wouldn't mock her. But
Correct.
if I did, I had to get that I want that compliment from you, Tammy. You're not being good to yourself, Melissa. You're not being good to yourself. You deserve more. I don't know you, but you know what? You deserve more because that should not happen. So
No.
anyway.
Well, and he's not acting out. I will go back to
Oh,
that is abstinence. That does not, that
that's
isn't
right.
even sobriety or recovery, it's
No,
not sobriety. We did a webinar, Scott and I did, I think it was in March of this year on what real recovery is and isn't. That may be a useful one to watch,
that's
but
a good one.
healthy boundaries work group for you, Melissa, would be
Yeah,
like,
so,
yeah, I can't encourage that enough. Okay.
uh,
We won't get to the rest of them. Thank
no,
you
we
so much,
won't. That's all
everyone.
right. We'll
But
pick
yeah,
that up. I'll see
come
you
back
near
next week.
Christmas.
Yes. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Good luck with your daughter.